Good morning, family. We get paid to read these books. Man, I am like about to hate to see this book end. It's got about 220 pages. I'm like on 160. Wait, I'm down to the last 60 pages. Ryan Serhant has blessed my soul reading this book. All right, now we're in chapter 8, Be the Who. And he's talking about being creative and all this kind of stuff. So let's get into it. So over here on page 152, he says he was selling 2 brownstones. One brownstone was just, renovated, modern, super dope appliances, fixtures, blah, blah, blah. Same area. The other brownstone was regular smegular. Nothing special about it as far as the fixtures and etc. But that one had a history. That one, Billie Holiday had lived in that town, in that brownstone. So when he sold a brownstone, he sold the story, the history, and who had lived there, and all this kind of stuff. And he could build up so much emotion around it. He says, I never forget that I'm not really selling a product. I'm selling a product story. Not every house I sell was once inhabited by a legendary jazz singer, but a home is a great big ball of emotion. It's not an ordinary purchase. It's the place where you'll relax and catch up on a Game of Thrones after a long day, and where your future children will trip over furniture while learning to walk. Teammates, listen, I'm telling you, he said he's not selling a product. Every home is a great ball of emotion. And I wrote in the margin, everything, and this is my insight, everything is a great big ball of emotion. If you make it that way, you got to make what you're offering people emotional. You got to be passionate about it and have a vision beyond just whatever the product is. That's not sexy. You make it sexy. Ooh-wee. Now, on and on and on. So he crafted a story around the jazz singer, and obviously he ended up selling the brownstone. And then he goes on and he's talking about, I don't care what you're selling. He said you can create an essential connection between the product and the customer by relaying a story. At the end of the day, that's ultimately all anyone wants, a good bedtime story. Now listen to this, you're going to miss it. Crafting that story isn't always as simple as saying, you know who loved these socks? George Clooney, blah, blah, blah. And he goes on and talks about stars and celebrities endorsing stuff. Teammates, and what my insight is your story matters. It's not you can craft your story matters. My story matters. We can craft a story just as good as anybody. Put your imagination to work. Craft your story. Put some energy into it. Write it over and over and over. Find what are you selling? What are the pain points you want to hit? What are the emotions you want to bring out? Put some energy into that, teammates. That's huge. Go on. Now, listen to this. Now he going on and basically the same scenario, another property. It wasn't selling. He came in, put his flair, his energy, his creativity into it, and boom, 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 sold it. Listen to this. He said, and this he's talking about the property. He said, I decided to start by learning as much about the building as I could. When I Googled it, lots of information came up about the 442 units being developed in the condos. Nothing interesting about that. When the market is great, that's all you need. But when the market is bad, you need to sell more than just the product. You need to sell the story. I wanted to find that special nugget of information that will make people get excited about coming to see it, like George Washington stayed here or Justin Bieber. Then I found it. I discovered that 99 John Street was designed by blah, 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 who had designed the Empire State Building. And then he crafted a story around that and had a party. Teammates, now my point number 3. You might have to do some research. You might have to do some research on the history, your family history. Think about what you're thinking about. How did you get to this point in life wherever you are? It's just as important to read about anybody else. We scrolling, looking at what everybody else is doing. Think about your story, your family story, where you come from, your mother, your father, your grandparents. How did you get to this place? And then put it in a package and flat sell it. Teammates, I love you guys. This is some good stuff to me, man. I love reading these books. This is crazy. Hope you're getting something out of it. Go run this play again tomorrow.